Hey, everybody. Welcome to From My Heart to Yours. It's Helen Hillix, your host, intuitive counselor, licensed therapist. And today I'm talking about how do you get her turned on so that she wants to re-engage in sex, sometimes after years of not really being interested. All kinds of situations men are writing to me about how to get their partners there. And these are the people that are talking to me are primarily heterosexual couples, although I know this applies to, gay, lesbian, queer, non-binary, bisexual relationships absolutely equally. The people that are writing to me are saying, how do I get my wife turned on again? How do I get my girlfriend interested in sex? Why doesn't my wife want oral sex? Why doesn't she let me perform oral sex on her? All kinds of questions about how to get their female partner turned on. Well, I'm going to tell you a story, first of all, about a couple that came to me. They look like they have everything. They've been married over 2 decades. They love each other. They have frequent sex, but they were having a lot of strain in their sex lives. It looked like the man wanted sex much more than the woman. They had, negotiated an every other day sex routine, but there were still lots of conflicts and resistances and feelings of rejection and all kinds of things happening that they wanted support to work on because they loved each other, because they wanted to be together. So what did I do? Well, this is what I want to share with you today. I just recently did an interview series with 27 sex experts, all the way from psychiatrists in Manhattan who do sex therapy to people who hold sex parties and, are into BDSM, all different, and everyone in between. Everybody, it was a glorious, wonderful experience. And everybody had a completely different perspective about what sexuality was. Most people talked about the fact, however, that it was really a desire for connection. And that's what I want to talk about today, because, if there are so many people who know so much more about the specifics of sexual physiology and techniques than I do. That's not my expertise. My expertise is how do you clear away the deeper issues that are inhibiting sexuality. And I'll tell you why, to me, that is such an important part of the process. Because if you want to just find some new technique, I've got people who write to me and say, how do I have a squirting G-spot orgasm? And then I start talking to them. And then they start telling me that, they've been nagging their husband to do something about his premature ejaculation, and that, they've gotten him to get into some, kinds of coaching, and that's the way it's been in their whole relationship, is that she's anxious and she wants to make something happen. And they're like both very successful people in their careers. And the more I talk to her, the more I realized that that's not really what she needs, is advice about how to have a squirting G-spot orgasm. Her real need is to face the fact that she had a mentally disturbed, emotionally disturbed mother. And he had lots of traumatic childhood experiences as well. And it's those things that people don't want to talk about. They don't want to talk about, they don't want to acknowledge, they don't want to feel those feelings of pain. But that's what's getting in the way. Otherwise, guys, otherwise you would have already figured it out. Because, how do I know that? Because there is a huge amount of sexual information out there now. One of the people that I interviewed that I just loved, and we have become fast friends after the interview, and that's Susan Bratton. And if you haven't looked her up on YouTube and Instagram and all over the place, she's all over the place now, Facebook, she has books and toys and unbelievable videos about every single thing you could possibly want to know about sex on the technical level. But she doesn't do what I do. So there's room for everybody. And I'm just saying that the people that contact me, what I realize is that they have already tried so many of these other techniques. They have tried vibrators, they've tried wands and yoni eggs and, treatments for premature ejaculation, and they're still, or they may never have had any issue with orgasms or premature ejaculation, but they're still having conflict with their sexuality, and they have, uneven sex drives or uneven libidos. And that's the way it is, guys, is there are so many other things going on that don't have anything to do with the toys or the orgasms or the technique, but they have to do with the way the couple is relating to one another. That is so important. I cannot overstress that it is about the way the couple is relating to one another. It's not about some particular technique or other, or particular toy or other. It's about what's going on between the couple. So let me back up and talk about the couple that came in a few months ago and had this, what seemed to be mismatched sex drives, what seemed to be blockages all over the place. She thought he was thinking about porn when they were having sex, and he felt rejected by her. And, he wanted oral sex from her and for her, and she was resistant to that. And it just seemed like they had all different kinds of things going on that were blocking them. And it seemed like it was sex related. But you know what, guys? It wasn't. It was not at all. We've only been working together a few months. And in a recent session, the woman told me that she finally is comfortable with her genitals. She's finally comfortable with her sexuality. We've talked about the fact that she was traumatized as a child. He was traumatized as a child. And that, guys, is what we've been focusing on, is healing those childhood traumas and helping each other understand the other person's childhood traumas and how they've been showing up in his aggressive behavior or her withholding behavior. How it's been showing up in her shaming him and his trying to control her, how it's been showing up in his sexual frustration and her sexual resistance. So this is not just this couple, guys. I'm only using this couple as an example because I know there are so many of you out there, guys, who have the same issues, who have the same situations, who have the same old patterns and mistaken beliefs. And I just want to say again, it's not what it looks like on the surface. It's not that you need to find a better and faster vibrator or a more magical yoni egg, or he needs to last longer and then everything's going to be great. That's not how it works. Our culture and our whole world is so mixed up about sexuality and what it is and how it is expressed, whether it is an expression of love or dominance or escape. We have so many different kinds of beliefs. Is it a sin? Is it not a sin? And so many of us have been taught that it's a terrible, terrible sin. You'll go to hell if you do it before you're married. But then after you're married, you better turn it on. Especially you ladies better turn it on for your husbands. And, it's not that simple, is it? So there is so much going on that we do not know on the surface, that we do not understand on the surface. And we get totally hung up in the idea that if I just do this or that technically different, that things should work better. And most of the time, the two of the new clients that I've gotten from talking to people from the series that I did are actually sex coaches themselves. And they have spent thousands and thousands of dollars in other sex retreats or sex weekends or sex programs that teach them how to do this or that. But they're coming to me now and having fabulous results because they are finally realizing that it's about the deeper issues. So again, I want to go back to the couple that came to me that have been married for decades. They're happy. They love each other. Once they started getting some significant healing for their past traumas, once they started having compassion for the situation of the other person and didn't take it personally anymore that he was pushing for sex, she got to realize that that's because he felt terribly insecure and unloved by his mother. And he felt determined that that wasn't going to be the situation anymore, that he wasn't going to feel weak and vulnerable. He was going to take charge, and he was going to be the one in control. And he was going to do it, get his needs, his deep needs for affection and validation. He was going to get those met through sex. So once he realized that, it's like it took the pressure off of him, and he realized it isn't really about sex. It's really about the fact that he is a very tender-hearted guy and really dying for connection and intimacy and affection. And lo and behold, once she realized that, it made her feel so much safer to have her own sexual feelings and to quit pretending like he was the one who really wanted sex all the time. And she got to own the fact that she's actually very sexual. It was such a surprise to both of them that she's actually very sexual. And she got to own that and feel safe with that because he was willing to get vulnerable and own that all of his needs were not sexual, that they were for affection and tenderness and sensitivity. And of course, her ability to express her sexuality was also based on the fact that she got a lot of healing and understanding about her traumas as a child and teenager, and the sexual traumas that had happened also that made her not trust herself. And that is so often the situation, is we don't trust ourselves with sex because we didn't get any good education about it. We didn't make good decisions about it. And we hurt ourselves in the process. So all these things, guys. So she got a lot of healing about all of that. And she was sharing with me recently that she was even relaxed and safe and healed enough from all of that, that he offered to perform oral sex on her. And at first she said she resisted and said, no, I'm okay. But then he said, you're safe. You're so safe with me. I want you just to relax and receive. And she said, okay, I'm going to relax and receive. And she said it was a wonderful experience. And she shared also that in the course of their 20 plus year marriage, that he has wanted oral sex from her and for her so many times. And it was like a once a year occurrence for his birthday or something like that. And she said in the last couple of months since they've been working with me and getting this deep emotional healing that they needed, that they've had more oral sex in the last couple of months than they had in the 25 years previously. And that just made me cry. Honestly, I was just so touched by her willingness to share that, and by the power of the work that we're doing, and the willingness that they have to open their hearts and to dive deep and really use the guidance and the healing. And I'm saying this not to toot my own horn, guys, although I am a really good counselor, but to tell you that wherever you get the healing, whether it's with me or somebody else, don't hesitate to dive deep. That's where you're going to get the real transformation. That's where your heart's desire is going to be met. You may increase your orgasms, or you may increase your stamina before ejaculation by doing certain techniques, but your heart will still not be healed. And the dynamics, you'll still have conflict between the two of you. You'll still be treating each other in a way that shows the pain that you're in. unless you dive deep and heal what's really going on, which is the dynamics between the two of you. And those dynamics between the two of you are based on childhood trauma. And what do I mean by childhood trauma? You know, it's really interesting. People don't think that they had childhood trauma. Oh, I was not molested as a child, or, you know, nobody tried to kidnap me or whatever. But that's not really what we're talking about. Divorce is a trauma. One parent being incarcerated is a trauma. Addiction in the family is a trauma. Having one of your brothers or sisters die or be sent away for bad behavior is a trauma. There are so many things. Poverty can be a trauma. So many things. You know, having a brother or sister that has special needs can be a trauma. It's a very common thing. Almost every single person has had trauma in their childhood because it's just a fact of life. There's no shame in it and there's no mystery in it. It's just what happens as our response to the pain of life and the natural occurring challenging things that happen. So guys, don't shy away from diving deep into those issues, because this couple, their vision for themselves was to feel close and safe and to be having wonderful, sacred sexuality. They're both very spiritual. They wanted to have wonderful, passionate, safe sexuality with no shame, no conflict, and no inhibitions. And that's exactly what they've created together. And they didn't create it using tools or techniques. They created it together by diving deep and healing the things that they did not know were in their way. And I want to say that again. They were diving deep to heal the things that they did not know were in their way. You know, guys, if we could heal ourselves and all we needed was just to know what was wrong with us, it's like we wouldn't need any counseling. We wouldn't need any coaching. We wouldn't need any business mentors. We would just be able to figure everything out ourselves. But that's not the way it is it? We cannot know what we don't know. Again, we cannot know what we don't know. And we are not raised to be experts in diving deep and figuring out what traumas blocked us and how to heal it and how to redo it and how to create a whole different reality. We don't know how to do that. So don't hesitate, again, to find somebody. You know, I'd be honored to talk to you to see if we're a fit. But it doesn't matter if it's me or somebody else. Find somebody that can help you dive deep and really, truly heal what's in the way of the sexual passion and the sacred sexuality that you've always dreamed of with a partner and even with yourself. If you have no partner, you can have wonderful, intimate, spiritual sex with yourself. So don't hesitate, guys. You deserve it. You are worthy of it. You can have it all. Keep those visions and those dreams alive and don't get stuck in what's blocking you. Have your dreams, make it happen. And let me hear about it. Talk to me about it. Email me at helen@helenhillix.com. Check me out at helenhillix.com, and that's HILLIX. I'm here for you guys. I love you all, and I want you all to have your dreams. I want you to have that sacred sexuality and passion with no shame. So I love you guys. Thanks for joining me today, and I will talk to you next week.